The rain hammered against the windows of the dimly lit restaurant, a relentless drumbeat that matched the pounding in my chest. I had been working at La Bella Vita for just over a month, a high-end Italian spot in the heart of New York City where the clientele was as polished as the silverware. My name is Sofia Petrova, and at 28, I was far from the wide-eyed immigrant who had arrived from Moscow 5 years ago. Back then, I had fled the shadows of my family's tangled past, seeking a fresh start in America. By day, I taught Russian literature at a community college. By night, I waited tables to make ends meet. It was a life of quiet anonymity, or so I thought. That evening, the restaurant buzzed with its usual Friday night energy. Couples whispered over candle-lit tables, business deals were sealed with handshakes and expensive wine, and the air carried the rich aroma of garlic, fresh basil, and simmering sauces. I moved through the dining room with practiced grace, my black uniform hugging my figure just enough to earn generous tips without drawing unwanted attention. My dark hair was pulled into a neat chignon, and my green eyes scanned the room habitually, a remnant of growing up in a world where vigilance was survival. He occupied table 12. Viktor Kuznetsov, the name whispered in hushed tones among the staff. He was the kind of man who commanded a room without saying a word. Tall, broad-shouldered with sharp features carved from stone and eyes like polished obsidian, he exuded an aura of controlled power. His suits were always bespoke, his watch a subtle display of wealth that could buy half the city. Rumors swirled that he was connected to the Russian Mafia, the Bratva, running operations from the shadows that stretched across continents. He came in every Friday, always alone, always ordering the same. Borscht to start, followed by osso buco and a bottle of vintage Barolo. He tipped extravagantly, but his gaze was piercing, as if he saw through every facade. I approached his table with the wine, pouring it with steady hands. "Good evening, Mr. Kuznetsov. Your usual tonight." He nodded, his eyes flicking up to meet mine for a brief moment. There was something in that look, a flicker of curiosity that unsettled me. I brushed it off, attributing it to the weight of a long shift. As I turned to leave, my phone vibrated in my apron pocket. I ignored it, focusing on the following table, but it buzzed again, insistent. Excusing myself, I slipped into the narrow hallway leading to the kitchen, where the clatter of pots and shouted orders drowned out the dining room's hum. The screen showed an unknown number with a familiar Russian country code. My stomach twisted. I hadn't spoken to anyone from my past in years, not since I'd cut ties with my uncle's shadowy network in Moscow. Against my better judgment, I answered, keeping my voice low. "Da, kto это?" The voice on the other end was gravelly, accented and unmistakably urgent. "Sofia, ty должна слушать. Oni znают, где ты. Ukhodi. Сейчас." My breath caught. "They know where you are. Leave now." Before I could respond, the line went dead. My hands trembled as I shoved the phone back into my pocket, my mind racing. Who knew? The Bratva? My uncle's old enemies? I'd spent years building a life free of that world, but its tendrils were long, and they never truly let go. I returned to the dining room, forcing a smile as I refilled glasses and cleared plates. But my eyes kept darting to the exits, cataloging every face in the room. The man at table 5, with his too-perfect suit and nervous glances toward the door. The woman at the bar, sipping the same martini for an hour, her posture too rigid for a casual drinker. And Viktor Kuznetsov, still at table 12, was watching me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. Had he overheard? The hallway wasn't far from his table, and Russian wasn't exactly a common language in this part of New York. I pushed through the rest of my shift, hyper-aware of every movement. By 10:30, the crowd had thinned, and I caught a glimpse of Kuznetsov speaking quietly into his phone. His eyes flicked to me again, and this time, there was no mistaking the calculation in them. My pulse quickened. I didn't know what he'd heard, but I couldn't shake the feeling that my call had changed something. As I cleared his table, he spoke, his voice low and smooth, laced with an accent that was pure Moscow. "You seem distracted tonight, Sofia. Something troubling you?" I froze, my hand clutching the empty wine glass. Just a busy night, sir. His gaze held mine, unyielding. Be careful. Not everyone in this city is what they seem. The words were neutral, but the weight behind them felt like a warning. Or a threat. I nodded, retreating to the safety of the kitchen, where I leaned against the counter, trying to steady my breathing. The sous chef, Maria, shot me a curious look. You okay, Suf? You look like you've seen a ghost. I'm fine. Just tired. But I wasn't fine. The call had cracked open a door I'd fought to keep closed, and Kuznetsov's words had poured salt into the wound. By 11, as I locked up the restaurant, I felt the weight of unseen eyes on my back. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets slick and reflective under the sodium glow of streetlights. I pulled my coat tighter and started the short walk to my apartment in Hell's Kitchen, my steps quick and deliberate. Halfway there, headlights swept across the pavement behind me. I didn't turn, but my hand slipped into my purse, fingers closing around the small canister of pepper spray I'd carried since my first week in the city. The car slowed, keeping pace. My heart hammered, but I kept walking, forcing myself to stay calm. At the corner, I risked a glance. A black sedan, windows tinted so dark I couldn't see inside. It idled for a moment, then accelerated, disappearing around the block. I exhaled, but the relief was short-lived. My phone buzzed again, another unknown number. I didn't answer this time, letting it go to voicemail as I hurried up the steps to my building. Inside my cramped studio, I locked the door and slid the chain into place. The voicemail was a single sentence, delivered in the same gravelly voice. They're watching, Sophia. Run. I deleted it, my hands shaking. I couldn't run, not yet. I had a job, a life, and students who depended on me. But the warning gnawed at me, and Kuznetsov's face kept flashing in my mind. Did he know? Was he part of it? I sank onto my couch, staring at the ceiling, trying to piece together a puzzle with too many missing pieces. The next morning, I woke to a text from an unknown number. No words, just a photo. Me, leaving La Bella Vita last night, my face illuminated by a streetlight. My blood ran cold. Someone had been close, too close. I called in sick to the college, citing a migraine, and spent the day scouring my apartment for anything out of place. Nothing was amiss, but the unease lingered. By evening, I had no choice but to return to the restaurant. Bills didn't pay themselves, and hiding would only confirm someone's suspicions. La Bella Vita was quieter tonight, a Saturday lull that felt unnatural. Kuznetsov was there again, at his usual table, but something was different. Two men sat at a nearby booth, their suits too sharp, their postures too alert. Bodyguards, maybe. Or enforcers. I avoided his gaze as I served other tables, but I could feel his eyes on me, tracking my every move. When I finally approached with his borscht, he spoke before I could. You didn't come to work yesterday. I hope everything's all right. His tone was polite, but it carried an edge that made my stomach clench. Just a headache. I'm fine now. He nodded, but his eyes didn't leave mine. Good. I'd hate for anything to happen to you. The words were innocuous, but they landed like a stone in still water, rippling through my nerves. I managed a smile and retreated, my mind racing. He knew something. I was sure of it, but what? And why did he care? As the night wore on, I noticed the two men from the booth following my movements, their glances subtle but deliberate. They weren't eating, just sipping water, their plates untouched. My psychology training kicked in, noting their hypervigilance, the way their hands stayed close to their jackets, suggesting concealed weapons. I was being watched, and not just by Kuznetsov. The realization hit me like a freight train. My past had found me, and it was closing in. By closing time, I was a bundle of nerves, my hands unsteady as I wiped down tables. Maria lingered, chatting about her weekend plans, oblivious to the storm brewing in my head. As we locked up, she offered me a ride, but I declined, needing the walk to clear my mind. The streets were empty, the air heavy with the threat of more rain. I hadn't gone 2 blocks when the same black sedan appeared, this time pulling up beside me. The window rolled down, revealing a man I didn't recognize, his face scarred and his eyes cold. Sophia Petrova, get in. We need to talk. I froze, my hand tightening on the pepper spray. I don't know you. His smile was thin, unamused. You don't need to, but you'll want to hear what I have to say about your uncle. My heart stopped. Uncle Dmitri, the man who'd raised me after my parents died, the man whose Bratva ties had forced me to flee Moscow. I'd thought he was dead, killed in a power struggle years ago. What about him? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The man gestured to the back seat. Get in and I'll tell you. It's about your safety, and his. I hesitated, every instinct screaming to run. But the mention of Dmitri, the photo from last night, the warnings, they were puzzle pieces and I needed answers. Against my better judgment, I opened the door and slid inside, the leather cold against my skin. The car pulled away, and I knew with chilling certainty that my life was about to change forever. The car smelled of leather and stale cigarette smoke, a combination that turned my stomach. The scarred man in the front seat drove smoothly through the rain-slicked streets, his eyes flicking to the rearview mirror every few seconds. Beside me sat another man, silent and watchful, his bulk crowding the space. I kept my hand near the door handle, ready to bolt at the next red light, but I knew it was futile. These weren't amateurs. They moved with the precision of men who'd done this before, who knew how to contain without escalating. Tell me about my uncle. My voice was steady, but inside fear coiled like a snake. The scarred man, let's call him Scar for lack of a better name, glanced back. Dmitri is alive. Barely. He's in hiding, but his enemies are closing in. They think you have something of his. Something valuable. I frowned, my mind racing through memories. Dmitri had been a mid-level operator in the Moscow Bratva, dealing in information and favors. When I left, he'd given me nothing but a warning. Stay hidden, Sophia. Forget us. What could I possibly have, I asked. Scar's eyes narrowed. A ledger. Digital, encrypted. He said you'd know I didn't. Or did I? Flashes of our last conversation surfaced. Dmitri pressing a small USB drive into my hand at the airport, disguised as a keychain. For emergencies, he'd said. I'd tossed it into a drawer in my apartment, forgotten amid the chaos of starting over. If that was it, what was on it? Names, accounts? Enough to topple empires? We need it, Scar continued. And so do they. Who's they? The Volkov Syndicate. They took out Dmitri's crew 2 years ago. Thought he was dead, but he surfaced last month. Weak but vengeful. Now they're hunting loose ends. You're one. The car turned onto a quieter street, away from the bustling avenues. My apartment was in the opposite direction. Where are we going? I demanded. Somewhere safe to talk. Scar's tone was final, but I wasn't buying it. These men weren't saviors. Their accents were thick, Moscow streets embedded in every syllable, but their suits screamed American money. Hired muscle, perhaps, or worse, Volkov's own. I need proof Dmitri's alive, I said, stalling. Show me something. Scar hesitated, then pulled out his phone, scrolling to a photo. There was Dmitri, older, gaunt, but unmistakable, holding a newspaper dated last week. His eyes, green like mine, stared into the camera with a message only I'd understand. Trust no one. Okay. The ledger's at my place. Take me there and I'll give it to you. Scar exchanged a glance with his partner. Fine. But no tricks. The car made a U-turn, heading back toward Hell's Kitchen. My mind whirled. If I could get inside, grab the drive, and maybe slip out the fire escape. But as we pulled up to my building, another car idled across the street. A familiar black sedan. Kuznetsov's. Paranoia gripped me. Scar noticed, too. Wait here, he said to his partner. I'll go up with her. We climbed the stairs in silence, my keys jingling too loudly in the quiet hall. Inside, the apartment felt smaller, claustrophobic. I flicked on the light and headed to the bedroom drawer, where the keychain lay buried under scarves and old photos. Here. I tossed it to Scar, who caught it one-handed. He examined it, nodding. Smart disguise. Now the password? Password? I echoed, bluffing. Dmitri didn't give me one. Scar's face hardened. Don't lie. He said you'd know. It's family. Think family. Our shared history. My parents' death in a car crash orchestrated by rivals. The date, 15th of July, 1998. I tried it aloud. Scar plugged the drive into his phone and typed in the password. It worked. Files scrolled across the screen. Names, dates, transactions. Enough dirt to bury the Volkovs. "Good girl," he said, pocketing it. "Now you come with us. Dmitri wants you to be safe." I backed away. "No, I'm not going anywhere." His partner appeared in the doorway, blocking the exit. "You don't have a choice," adrenaline surged. I lunged for the kitchen, grabbing a knife from the block. "Stay back," Scar laughed, a cold sound. "Put it down, Sophia, we're not here to hurt you." But the partner advanced, his hand reaching for something in his jacket. "A gun?" I slashed wildly, catching his arm. He swore, blood blooming on his sleeve. Scar tackled me from behind, the knife clattering away. I fought, kicking, elbowing, but he was stronger. A cloth pressed over my mouth. Chloroform? The world blurred, darkness creeping in. My last thought, Kuznetsov. Why him? I woke in a moving vehicle, wrists bound with zip ties, a blindfold over my eyes. The hum of the engine suggested a van, not a sedan. Voices murmured in Russian, Scar and his partner, arguing about the cut on his arm. "She's trouble," one said. "Dmitri can deal with her." My head throbbed, but I stayed still, listening. "We're meeting the boss at the warehouse. He'll decide." "Boss? Not Dmitri. Volkov?" Panic rose, but I forced it down. "Think, Sophia." The ties were tight, but I'd read enough thrillers to know how to slip them, twist, pull, use blood if needed. My wrists were already raw. Hours passed, or so it felt. The van stopped, doors opening to cold air and the distant roar of traffic. Rough hands pulled me out, guiding me across gravel into a building that echoed like a cavern. The blindfold came off, revealing a dimly lit warehouse, crates stacked high, shadows dancing from overhead bulbs. Scar shoved me into a chair, tying my ankles. "Wait here. The boss wants a word." Alone, I tested the restraints. The zip ties on my wrists had loosened slightly from my earlier struggle. I worked them, ignoring the pain, until one hand slipped free. The ankle ties were easier, plastic, cuttable if I could find something sharp. A nail protruded from a nearby crate. I stretched, scraping until they snapped. Free, but trapped. Footsteps approached. I froze, pretending to be bound. The door opened, and in walked a man I didn't expect, Viktor Kuznetsov. He was dressed casually now, jeans and a leather jacket, but his presence filled the space like before. His eyes found mine, dark and unreadable. "Sofia Petrova, or should I say Sofia Ivanova, daughter of Ivan Petrov, Dmitri's brother." My breath caught. How did he know my real name? The one I'd buried with my past. He pulled up a chair and sat across from me. "Your uncle and I go back. He worked for me before the Volkovs turned him. I thought you were dead, like him. But then I heard your call last night. In Russian. About running." It clicked. I stared, pieces falling into place. "You're Bratva, the head in New York." He nodded. "And you're in danger. The Volkovs want that ledger. They think it exposes me too. Scar works for you? No, for them. But my men intercepted. You're safe now, safe?" I snapped, anger surging. "You had me kidnapped?" He shook his head. "I had you protected. Scar was Volkov's, but I got to you first. My people swapped the van en route." Confusion swirled. "Then why the ties? The warehouse?" "To keep up appearances. Volkov's watching. We need them to think you're captured. Then we strike." I rubbed my wrists, glaring. "And what if I don't want to be part of your war?" He leaned forward, his voice low. "You already are. That ledger also includes my operations. Dmitri stole it to bargain with Volkov, but he double-crossed them. Now they want you as leverage. Help me, and I'll end this. Get you out clean." His eyes held mine, intense, almost pleading. There was something else there. Attraction? No, couldn't be. He was Mafia, the world I'd fled. But his presence was magnetic. His scent of cologne and leather intoxicating. "Why me?" I whispered, "Because you're smart. Brave. And because I've watched you for weeks, I've noticed a few things. You're not like the others, flattery or truth." Before I could respond, alarms blared. Gunfire echoed outside, Volkov's men. Kuznetsov stood, drawing a gun. "Stay here, I'll handle this." But I wasn't staying. I grabbed the nail, ready to fight. The door burst open, chaos erupting. In the melee, I saw Kuznetsov move like a shadow, precise and deadly. A man lunged at me. I stabbed with the nail, catching his thigh. He howled, dropping. Kuznetsov turned, surprise flickering. "Good girl." The fight was brutal, quick. Bodies fell, blood staining concrete. When silence fell, Kuznetsov approached, wiping his hands. "It's over for now. But Volkov will come harder. You need protection." I met his gaze. "And your offering?" He nodded. "Stay with me. I'll keep you safe, and maybe more." His hand brushed mine, electric. I should run. But something pulled me. Hours later, in his penthouse, he said the words, "Don't let her leave." To his men, but his eyes on me. Promise or prison. I'd find out. The penthouse perched atop a gleaming tower in Midtown, its floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city lights twinkling like distant stars. I stood in the living room, the plush carpet muffling my footsteps, my wrists still sore from the ties. Viktor Kuznetsov moved with the ease of a man in his domain, shedding his leather jacket to reveal a black shirt that clung to his muscled frame. His men, 3 of them, silent shadows in tailored suits, hovered near the door, their eyes averted but alert. "Don't let her leave," Victor said to them, his voice a low command that brooked no argument. His gaze locked on mine, intense and unyielding, as if daring me to challenge him. Promise or prison, I wondered, my heart racing. I had no illusions about who he was. Viktor Kuznetsov, head of the New York Bratva, was a man whose name struck fear into rivals and commanded loyalty from those under him. Yet here I was, not bound, not threatened, but standing in his sanctuary because he claimed it was for my protection. The warehouse fight replayed in my mind. The gunfire, the blood, the way he'd fought like a force of nature. He'd saved me, but at what cost? "Why me?" I asked again, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "You're not just anyone, Sophia. You're Dmitri's niece. And that ledger? It ties us together." He poured 2 glasses of vodka from a crystal decanter, handing me one. The liquid burned as it went down, grounding me in the moment. Dmitri worked for me years ago, before he betrayed the family. Stole that ledger to sell to Volkov. But he hid it with you. Smart, but dangerous. Now Volkov knows you're alive, and he'll come for you to get it back. I set the glass down, my fingers tracing the rim. "And you want it destroyed. Or used against him." Victor nodded, leaning against the marble counter. "Exactly. But first, we need to draw him out. You're the bait, but on my terms. Safe. Protected. Bait." The word stung, reminding me of my vulnerability. I'd built a life here, teaching Chekhov and Tolstoy to eager students, serving pasta to oblivious diners, all to escape this world. Now it had pulled me back in, and Victor was at the center. He was older than me, maybe in his mid-30s, with a faint scar along his jawline, a reminder of battles won. His dark hair was cropped short, his features chiseled, but there was a weariness in his eyes, a depth that spoke of losses I could only imagine. "Why protect me?" I pressed. "You could have let Volkov take me, gotten the ledger yourself." His expression softened, just a fraction, "Because I see myself in you. Running from a past that won't die. My family was killed when I was young, Volkov's doing. I built this empire from their ashes. You deserve better than to be collateral." His words hung in the air, laced with sincerity that disarmed me. We talked through the night, the city humming below us. He shared fragments of his life, the cold streets of St. Petersburg where he'd learned to survive, the rise through the ranks in New York, the loneliness of power. I told him about Moscow, my parents' accident, and Dmitri's shadowy guidance. For hours it felt like confession, a bridge forming between us. By dawn, exhaustion claimed me. Victor showed me to a guest room, luxurious with silk sheets and a view that stole my breath. "Sleep," he said. "You're safe here." But as I lay there, staring at the ceiling, doubt crept in. Was this protection or possession? His men guarded the exits. His word was law. Yet his touch earlier brushing my hand had been gentle, electric. I drifted off, dreams tangled with gunshots and his dark eyes. I woke to sunlight streaming in, the scent of coffee wafting from the kitchen. Victor was there, sleeves rolled up, preparing breakfast. Eggs, blini, fresh fruit. A domestic scene that clashed with his reputation. "You cook?" I said, surprised. He smiled, a rare, genuine curve of his lips. Survival skill. "Sit." We ate in companionable silence, but tension simmered. My phone was gone, confiscated for security. "No contact with the outside," he explained. Volkov could track. "I need to call my students at work." He shook his head. "Too risky." "Give me a day. We'll handle it." A day turned into 2. The penthouse became my world, opulent but confining. Victor's men patrolled discreetly, while he worked from his office, handling calls in rapid Russian. I explored the space, a library filled with classics, a gym overlooking the skyline, a terrace garden defying the urban sprawl. In stolen moments, Victor joined me, conversations deepening. He spoke of art, literature, surprising knowledge for a Mafia boss. "You teach Russian lit," he said one evening over wine. "Tell me about Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment." Fitting. Laughter came unexpectedly, easing the fear. But danger lurked. On the 3rd day, a package arrived, anonymously. Inside, a photo of me teaching with a note. "We know where she is. Please give us the ledger." Victor's face darkened. Volkov's move. "We're ready." That night, he outlined the plan. A meeting at a neutral warehouse, me as lure, his men in position. "I'll be there," he assured. "Nothing happens to you." Fear gripped me, but so did resolve. I wasn't the scared girl from Moscow anymore. "Teach me to shoot," I said. He raised an eyebrow, then nodded. In the gym, he handed me a pistol, his hands guiding mine. "Steady. Breathe." His proximity sent sparks, his breath on my neck, his strength enveloping. "You learn fast," he murmured, "like everything. Attraction built, undeniable." That evening on the terrace under the stars, he kissed me. Slow, consuming, like a storm breaking. I pulled back, breathless. "This is madness. You're Mafia, and you're fire, Sophia. I can't let you go." His words echoed his earlier command, but now laced with desire. We fell into each other, the city fading. Passion ignited, bodies entwining in his bed, a release from the chaos. But reality intruded. The meeting loomed. Volkov arrived with goons demanding the ledger. Victor handed a fake, stalling. Gunfire erupted, an ambush. I hid behind crates, heart pounding. But when a thug grabbed me, I fought, using moves Victor taught. He appeared, taking the man down. "Go!" he shouted. I ran but turned back, seeing him wounded, blood soaking his shirt. "No." I dragged him to cover, tearing fabric to staunch the flow. "You fool!" he gasped. "Get out, not without you." Sirens wailed. Police tipped off anonymously. Volkov fled, his men scattering. In the aftermath, the harsh hospital lights helped Victor recover. "You saved me," he said from the bed, "as you did to me." Weeks blurred. Volkov fell, arrested on evidence from the real ledger, Victor's doing. Dmitri surfaced, safe, thanking me via call. Freedom beckoned, but I stayed. Victor's world was mine now, tangled in love. "Don't let her leave," he'd said. Now it was my choice. Stay. Forever. The weeks following the warehouse showdown blurred into a haze of recovery and revelation. Victor's wound healed slowly, the bullet having grazed his side, but the scar would remain, a permanent reminder of that night. I visited him daily in the private clinic his money had secured, away from the prying eyes of law enforcement. The police investigation into the shootout fizzled out quickly, strings pulled from shadows, reports altered, witnesses silenced. Volkov sat in a federal holding cell, his empire crumbling under the weight of the ledger's contents. Names, dates, offshore accounts that exposed not just him, but a web of corruption reaching into politics and business. Victor had leaked just enough to bury him, keeping the rest as insurance. Dmitri called from a secure line in Prague, his voice frail but grateful. "Sophia, you did it! The ledger saved us both. Stay safe." He hung up before I could ask more, but his words lifted a burden I'd carried for years. My uncle was alive, free from Volkov's grasp. Yet freedom for me felt different now. Victor's penthouse welcomed me back, no longer a cage but a haven. His men nodded respectfully as I passed, their earlier vigilance softened by orders from the boss. She's family now. Victor returned home a week later, moving gingerly but with that unyielding strength. We celebrated quietly, a dinner he prepared, sturgeon with caviar, blini, and champagne chilled to perfection. Over the meal, he opened up more, sharing stories of his youth in Russia, the betrayal that killed his parents, and the ruthless climb to power in New York. "I built this to protect what's mine," he said. "Now that includes you." His hand covered mine, warm and possessive, sending a thrill through me. I leaned in, our lips meeting in a kiss that spoke of promises unspoken. Life settled into a rhythm, dangerous yet intoxicating. By day, I returned to teaching, my students none the wiser about the chaos I'd endured. The college campus felt mundane now, with lectures on Pushkin and Tolstoy serving as a stark contrast to the high-stakes world I'd entered. Evenings brought me back to Victor, dinners at hidden spots where Bratva business hummed in low tones, or quiet nights in the penthouse, his arms around me as we watched the city pulse below. He introduced me to his inner circle, Alexei, his right-hand man, loyal and sharp. Irina, his sister, fierce and protective, who eyed me warily at first but warmed when she saw my resolve. Yet shadows lingered. Volkov's arrest didn't end the threats. Rivals sensed weakness, testing boundaries with subtle incursions, a hacked account here, a shadowed tale there. Victor tightened security, assigning me a discreet bodyguard, Sergei, who blended into crowds like a ghost. I protested at first. "I can handle myself." He pulled me close, "I know. But I won't risk you." His protectiveness was both suffocating and endearing. A mafia boss's love wrapped in steel, one night, as rain lashed the windows again, echoing that fateful evening at the restaurant, tension boiled over. A mole in Victor's organization was uncovered, feeding info to a splinter group from Volkov's remnants. The interrogation happened in a basement I wasn't supposed to know about, but Victor confided later, his face etched with fatigue. "We handled it. But it's a reminder. This life never sleeps." I traced the scar on his side, my fingers gentle. "Then let me help." "Teach me more." He hesitated, then agreed, pulling me into training sessions where I learned codes, evasion tactics, and even basic self-defense beyond the pistol. Our bond deepened, passion igniting in stolen moments. His touch was fire, commanding yet tender, erasing doubts with every caress. In his bed, the world faded, leaving only us, two souls forged in fire, finding solace in each other. But love in his world came with costs. Irina warned me one afternoon over coffee in the terrace garden. "He's different with you, softer, but this life, it changes people. Be sure you're ready." I nodded, but inside resolve hardened. I was prepared for him. Months passed, the city shifting from fall's crisp air to winter's bite. Victor's operations stabilized, alliances reformed, his power unchallenged. We traveled discreetly, to a villa in the Hamptons for weekends, where ocean waves drowned out worries, to Moscow under false names, where he showed me his roots, the snow-covered streets stirring memories. There I met remnants of his family, aunts and cousins who welcomed me with wary warmth. "You're good for him," one said. "He smiles more." Back in New York, Christmas approached, the penthouse adorned with a towering tree, lights twinkling like the skyline. Victor surprised me with a gift, a necklace, a delicate chain with an emerald pendant matching my eyes. "For protection," he murmured, kissing my neck. "And because I love you." The words hung, simple yet profound. "I love you too," I whispered, pulling him close. That night, under the glow of holiday lights, we made love with an urgency born of survival, bodies entwining as if to ward off the cold world outside. but peace was fragile. New Year's Eve brought a tip. Volkov's brother, Andrei, had escaped custody in Russia, vowing revenge. "He knows about you," Alexei reported. "Sees you as the weak link." Victor's jaw clenched. "Then we end it." The plan unfolded swiftly. A trap at a gala, me as visible bait, hidden security ready. I dressed in emerald silk, the pendant gleaming, nerves stealing as we entered the ballroom. Andrei appeared, smug and armed, cornering me in a side room. "The ledger was mine," he snarled. "Give it or die." I stalled, heart pounding until Victor's men swarmed. Andrei fell, his threat neutralized forever. In the aftermath, Victor held me. "It's over. Truly." We returned home, the city fireworks exploding outside, mirroring the relief in my chest. Spring brought renewal. I quit waitressing to focus on teaching and even published a paper on Russian modernism. Victor diversified, legitimizing parts of his empire, real estate, imports, easing toward a future less shadowed. One evening, on the terrace as cherry blossoms fell like snow, he knelt. "Marry me, Sophia. Build this life with me." Tears blurred my vision. Yes. The ring, a band of diamonds and emeralds sealed it. Our wedding was intimate, in a chapel overlooking the Hudson, attended by his trusted few and my students, oblivious to the undercurrents. Dmitri attended virtually, his blessing crackling over the line. Years unfolded. A daughter arrived, green-eyed like me, fierce like him. Victor stepped back from operations, handing the reins to Alexei, focusing on family. Threats faded, but vigilance remained. "Don't let her leave," he'd commanded once. Now it was "don't let her go." Words of love, not control. Our story, born in the shadows of Russian call and Mafia, bloomed into something enduring. In his arms, I found home. The morning sun filtered through the penthouse windows, casting golden streaks across the hardwood floor where our daughter, Anya, played with a set of wooden blocks, her giggles filling the air. At 2 years old, she had Victor's sharp gaze and my stubborn streak, a combination that promised trouble and wonder in equal measure. I sat cross-legged beside her, stacking a tower she promptly knocked over, her laughter a balm to the lingering echoes of our past. Victor watched from the kitchen island, his coffee mug paused halfway to his lips, a rare softness in his eyes. "You two are my world," he said, his voice low, as if afraid to break the moment. I smiled, but a flicker of unease stirred. 3 years had passed since the gala, since Andrei Volkov's fall, and life had settled into something resembling normal. Victor's shift toward legitimate ventures, real estate developments, import-export deals, had reduced the late-night calls and armed shadows around us. Yet the Bratva world never fully released its grip. Whispers reached us of new players rising in the power vacuum left by Volkov's collapse, ambitious men testing boundaries. Alexei, now running daily operations, kept us informed. His reports were clinical, but laced with caution. "Stay sharp, Sophia," he'd said last week. "The city's restless." I pushed the thought aside, focusing on Anya as she toddled to Victor, demanding his attention. He scooped her up, her tiny hands tugging his tie, and for a moment, the ruthless Mafia boss was just a father, murmuring in Russian to make her laugh. But normalcy was fragile. That afternoon, while Anya napped, I found Victor in his office, staring at a laptop screen, his jaw tight. "Trouble?" I asked, leaning against the doorframe. He closed the laptop, his movements deliberate. "A new player. Ivan Morozov, ex-KGB, now running a crew out of Brighton Beach. He's sniffing around our roots, Morozov." The name sent a chill through me. My uncle Dmitri had mentioned him once years ago, a ghost from Moscow's underworld, ruthless and cunning. "What does he want?" I asked. Victor stood, crossing to me, his hands settling on my shoulders. "Leverage. He thinks I'm soft now, distracted by family." He's wrong. His tone was steel, but his touch was gentle, a contrast that defined him. "I won't let him touch you or Anya, but we need to move first." The plan formed swiftly, a hallmark of Victor's mind. Morozov was hosting a private auction at a Brooklyn warehouse, dealing in stolen art and data, likely a front for laundering. We'd infiltrate, gather intel, and plant a tracker to expose his network. You don't go, Victor said, reading my expression. Too risky with Anya. I bristled. I'm not helpless. I've fought beside you. He cupped my face, I know. But if something happens to you, I lose everything. The raw honesty in his voice silenced my protest. Instead, I helped strategize, poring over maps and contacts, my psychology training sharpening our approach to predict Morozov's moves. The night of the auction, I stayed in the penthouse and Sergei posted outside. Victor led the team, Alexei, Irina, and a handful of trusted men, disguised as buyers. I monitored from a secure feed, my heart in my throat as grainy footage showed Victor navigating the crowd, his charm masking lethal intent. Morozov appeared on screen. A wiry man with cold eyes, his gestures calculated. Something felt off. Too many guards, too little art, a trap? I texted Alexei, check exits. Now. Minutes later, chaos erupted. Gunfire crackled through the feed. Victor's team was pinned down. Morozov had anticipated them, luring with false intel. I called Sergei in, demanding a car. Anya's safe with Irina's mother, I said. I'm going. He hesitated, then nodded, knowing better than to argue. We sped to Brooklyn, my mind racing. The warehouse loomed, dark and industrial, shouts and muzzle flashes piercing the night. I slipped inside, using shadows as cover, a pistol from Victor's safe heavy in my hand. I found him cornered behind crates, blood on his sleeve, but alive, returning fire. Morozov stood across the room, barking orders. Our eyes met, Victor's relief warring with fury. Get out, Sophia! Not without you. I fired at a guard advancing on his flank, the shot clean, dropping him. Victor's nod was grudging but proud. Together we pushed back, his men rallying. Morozov fled, but not before I planted the tracker on his car, a move Victor hadn't anticipated. You never cease to surprise me, he said later, breathless as we escaped. Back home, Anya was safe, and we cleaned wounds and debriefed. The tracker led Alexei to Morozov's safe house, where his operation would be exposed to the feds by morning. Another threat neutralized, but the cost weighed heavily. Victor pulled me close, his voice raw. I can't keep dragging you into this. I kissed him fiercely. You don't drag me. I choose this. Us. His eyes searched mine, finding truth, and he nodded. Then we do it together. Spring arrived, and Anya was turning 3, her birthday a bright spot amid vigilance. We moved to a new penthouse with higher security, which also features a garden where she can play. My teaching career flourished, and a book deal on Russian literature was in the works. Victor expanded his legitimate ventures, funding community projects, a quiet atonement for his past. Yet the underworld simmered, new names rising, old debts lingering. We train together now, shooting, tactics, even hand-to-hand, partners in every sense. One evening, as we watched Anya chase fireflies on the terrace, Victor spoke. I'm stepping back further. Let Alexei take the lead. I want her to grow up safe, free. Tears pricked my eyes. And you, us? He smiled, pulling me close. We're forever. The city sprawled below, a testament to battles won. Love forged from a Russian call to this. A life carved from chaos, unbreakable. Summer's warmth lingered in New York, the city pulsing with life as Anya's kite soared above Central Park, her delighted squeals cutting through the chatter of joggers and vendors. Victor held the string, guiding her tiny hands, his laughter rare and unguarded. I watched from a picnic blanket, my heart full but my mind alert. Lena's retreat in San Francisco had bought us time, but the underworld was a hydra. Cut one head, another grew. Alexei's latest report confirmed it. A new player, Mikhail Suvorov, was consolidating power in Miami, eyeing New York's ports. He's ambitious, Alexei had said, his voice tight. And he knows your name, Sophia. Suvorov was different, younger, tech-savvy, with a veneer of legitimacy as a crypto mogul. His real trade was information, brokering secrets to the highest bidder. My book's success, now in its second printing, had drawn his attention, the same paranoid misreading that plagued the Petrovich crew. They thought my analysis of Russian literature hid Bratva codes, a theory fueled by online forums and shadowy leaks. Victor scoffed at the idea, but his eyes betrayed worry. "He's not just after routes," he said one night, poring over encrypted files. "He wants influence. You're a symbol now. I hated being a symbol. I was a professor, a mother, a wife, not a pawn in their games." But Suvorov's moves were bold. Hacked cameras near our penthouse, cryptic messages sent to my university email. One read, "Tell Kuznetsov to share, or the professor pays." Victor doubled security, Sergei now a constant shadow, while Irina drilled Anya on safety protocols disguised as games. I pushed back, demanding a role. "I'm not hiding," I told Victor. "Teach me the tech. If Suvorov's digital, I'll fight him there." He hesitated, then agreed, setting up a secure system in the penthouse. I learned fast: basic coding, encryption, tracking digital footprints. My psychology background helped me spot patterns in Suvorov's taunts. "He's narcissistic," I told Victor. "He'll want a spectacle." We decided to bait him at a charity gala in Manhattan, a high-profile event where I'd speak on literacy, drawing him out. Victor's team prepared, planting decoys and securing exits, while I memorized faces from Alexei's dossiers. The gala glittered, chandeliers casting light over gowns and tuxedos. I wore sapphire silk, the emerald pendant Victor gave me gleaming at my throat, a quiet reminder of his promise. He stayed close, his hand brushing mine, his eyes scanning the crowd. Suvorov appeared, sleek in a tailored suit, his smile too polished. He approached during a cocktail hour, voice smooth. "Professor Petrova, your book's fascinating. Care to discuss subtext?" His eyes flicked to Victor, a challenge. I played along, keeping my tone light. "Subtext is overrated, Mr. Suvorov. Sometimes a story's just a story." He laughed, but his gaze was predatory. "We'll see." Later, in a quiet hallway, he cornered me, his charm gone. "Please provide the ledger's backup. Otherwise, your daughter's school will receive a visit." My blood froze, but I held his stare. "There's no backup. You're chasing ghosts." He smirked, stepping closer. "Then why's Kuznetsov so protective?" Before I could answer, Victor appeared, his presence a storm. "Back off, Suvorov. Now." Guards materialized, but so did Suvorov's men, a standoff brewing. I slipped a tracker into his pocket during the tension, a trick learned from Victor's lessons. We left, the gala's glamour tainted. Back home, the tracker led Alexei to Suvorov's hotel, where laptops yielded enough to tip the feds. By dawn, he was detained, his empire unraveling. But the victory felt hollow. Anya's school, her safety, had been threatened. Over breakfast, as she chattered about kites, I exchanged a look with Victor. "We need out," I said later, alone. "Not just stepping back, out." He nodded, weary. "I've been planning it. A clean break. Canada, maybe. New identities. It'll take time, but we'll do it, for her. For us, the transition began quietly. Victor liquidated assets, funneling money into offshore accounts under aliases. I scaled back teaching to prepare colleagues for my sabbatical. Anya sensed the shift and asked why we had packed boxes. "We're adventuring," I told her, forcing a smile. Irina helped, securing papers, while Alexei took complete control of the Bratva, his loyalty unwavering. "Your family," he said. "Always." Winter arrived, crisp and biting. We spent Christmas in a cabin in upstate New York, a trial run for our new life. Anya built a snowman, Victor's laughter echoing as he joined her. I watched, my heart torn between joy and the weight of leaving. The city had shaped us, its dangers forging our love. Could we be us without it? That night by the fire, Victor pulled me close. "Wherever we go, you're my home." I kissed him, tears falling. "And you're mine." By spring, we were ready. Passports, a house in Vancouver, a new name. Elena Novak, professor and writer. Victor Novak, consultant. Anya would grow up free, her laughter unshadowed. As we boarded the plane, New York shrinking below, I felt the past release its grip. Suvorov was gone, the Bratva a fading echo. "Don't let her leave," Victor had once said. Now he held my hand whispering, "Together always." Our story, born in a Russian call, ended in flight. A new beginning, unbreakable. The city lights of Vancouver sparkled like diamonds scattered across velvet, a far cry from New York's relentless glow. Our new home sat on a quiet hillside, a modern house with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay, surrounded by evergreens that whispered in the wind. Anya, now 5, raced through the backyard, her laughter mingling with the calls of seagulls. "Look, Mama, a deer!" I watched from the deck, a mug of tea warming my hands as Victor joined her, kneeling to point out tracks in the soft earth. His hair had silvered at the temples, a sign of the years we'd claimed from the shadows. 5 years since our escape. 5 years of rebuilding under new names, Elena and Victor Novak, with little Anna completing our facade. The transition hadn't been seamless. The first months were tense, with me jumping at every unfamiliar face and double-checking locks and alarms. Victor had funneled his wealth into tech startups and real estate here, legitimate ventures that thrived under his sharp mind. I taught online courses in literature, my book spawning a series, each volume a quiet rebellion against the past. But scars remained, nightmares of gunfire, the phantom weight of a pistol in my hand. Suvorov's fall had been the last major threat, his arrest leading to a cascade of indictments that dismantled networks across continents. Yet whispers reached us even here, old allies turning, new enemies rising. Alexei, still running the New York operation, called monthly, his voice a lifeline. "Things are stable," he'd say. "But watch your back." Victor had severed ties cleanly, but the Bratva's memory was long. One evening, as rain pattered against the windows, a sound that constantly stirred memories of that fateful call, a package arrived. No sender, just a USB drive and a note, for old time's sake. Victor's face hardened as we plugged it in. Files scrolled, photos of us in Vancouver, Anya at school, me at a local bookstore signing. A message attached. "You can't hide forever, Kuznetsov. Debts unpaid." The sender was anonymous, but Victor's instincts pointed to a ghost. Dmitri's old partner, Sergei Volkov, Andrei's cousin, thought dead in a prison riot. "He's alive," Victor muttered. "And he wants revenge." We fortified the house, cameras, a safe room, and self-defense refreshers for me. Anya sensed the shift, asking why Daddy checked the doors so much. "Just being careful, Malishka," he said, ruffling her hair. The plan formed. Draw him out, end it quietly. Victor reached out to Alexei, requesting intel. Sergei was in Seattle, running a small crew, biding time. We set a trap, a fake business meeting in a border town, me as bait to lure him. I protested. "Anya needs us both." He pulled me close. "She needs us alive. I'll handle it." But I insisted on backup, coordinating from a hotel with a secure line. The night arrived, fog rolling in off the sound. Victor met Sergei in a dimly lit diner, wired for sound. I listened, heart pounding, as voices crackled. "You took everything," Sergei snarled. "Volkov's blood on your hands." Victor was calm. "It was business. Walk away." Gunfire erupted, an ambush. Sergei's men swarmed, but Victor's team was ready, hidden in shadows. I drove to the site, pistol ready, arriving as Victor pinned Sergei. "You threaten my family? Never again." A single shot ended it. Cleanup was swift. Bodies vanished into the night, alibis ironclad. Back home, Victor held me, trembling. "It's done for good." Life bloomed anew. Anya started ballet, her grace a joy to watch. Victor coached her soccer team, his competitive edge softened by fatherhood. I published my 3rd book, a memoir disguised as fiction, cathartic in its veiled truths. Friends here knew us as the Novaks, quiet, affluent, unremarkable. But intimacy deepened our bond, as nights were spent talking of dreams deferred and passions reignited. His touch still sparked fire, our love an anchor in calm waters. Yet on one crisp autumn day, a call came. Alexei's voice was urgent. "A new syndicate, the Karpovs, is rising fast. They found old files that mention you." Victor sighed, but his eyes met mine with resolve. "We'll handle it. Together." The cycle continued, but we were ready. A family forged in fire, unbreakable in love. The Vancouver air carried the sharp tang of pine and salt as I stood on our deck, watching the sunset paint the bay in hues of amber and rose. Anya, now 6, practiced cartwheels in the yard below, her ponytail bouncing, oblivious to the weight of the call we'd received last night. The Karpovs, Alexei had warned, weren't like the others. They were a new breed, ruthless, tech-driven, and led by a woman, Natasha Karpova, whose reputation for precision rivaled Victor's. She'd unearthed fragments of the old ledger, piecing together our past. "They're coming for your roots, your name," Alexei said. "And Sophia's memoir, they think it's a blueprint." Victor paced the living room behind me, his phone pressed to his ear, coordinating with Alexei. We'd built a life here, a fragile piece woven from new identities and quiet routines. Anya's school plays, my guest lectures at the university, Victor's investments in green tech, all of it felt like a dream we'd fought to keep. But Natasha's rise threatened to unravel it. Her syndicate operated globally, using encrypted networks to traffic data, weapons, and influence. She'd sent a message through a hacked email to my university account. The Novaks can't hide. Debts come due. I turned to Victor, his face etched with the same resolve I'd seen in New York, now tempered by fatherhood. "We end this before it reaches Anya," he said, ending the call. The plan was preemptive. Infiltrate their Vancouver cell, a front posing as a cybersecurity firm downtown. I'd pose as a consultant, leveraging my academic credentials to gain access, while Victor's team gathered digital evidence to cripple them. "I'm not sitting this out," I told him, my voice firm. "She's targeting me too." He nodded, reluctant but trusting. "You're my equal, Sophia, always." Preparation consumed us. I studied Natasha's profile. Ex-FSB, brilliant, manipulative, a chess player who saw people as pawns. My psychology training helped me map her moves. "She craves control," I told Victor. "We unsettle her, make her overreach." He taught me to bypass basic security systems, while Alexei sent encrypted files detailing her local operatives. Anya stayed with Irina's mother, her absence a hollow ache as we moved into action. The firm was a sleek office in a glass tower, buzzing with young coders unaware of their boss's actual game. I walked in for a scheduled meeting, my cover as Elena Novak, literature professor turned tech enthusiast. Natasha greeted me herself, her presence electric. Tall, blonde, eyes like ice. "Your memoir intrigued me," she said, her smile sharp. "Such layered storytelling." I matched her tone. "Just fiction, Miss Karpova." But I'm flattered. We sparred verbally, her probing questions testing my cover, my answers deflecting with practiced ease. Meanwhile, Victor's team hacked their servers from a nearby van, downloading transaction logs. I slipped a USB drive into a terminal during a tour, planting a virus Alexei designed. Natasha's suspicion grew. She lingered too close, her questions too pointed. "You remind me of someone," she said. "A ghost from Moscow." My pulse raced, but I smiled. "I get that a lot. Literature's full of ghosts." The virus worked, crashing their system as alarms blared. Natasha's composure cracked, her orders sharp as she rallied her team. I slipped out in the chaos, meeting Victor at the rendezvous. "Success, but she'll know it was us," he said, driving us home. That night, Anya returned, her hugs erasing the day's tension. But Natasha retaliated fast, a drone buzzing our property, dropping a note. "You play well. My turn." Victor fortified the house, while I analyzed the note's tone, taunting, but desperate. "She's rattled," I said. "Let's push harder." We leaked her hacked data to the RCMP, framing her for a cybercrime bust. Days later, her Vancouver cell collapsed, and operatives were arrested. Natasha vanished, likely fleeing to Europe, but her parting shot came via a call to Victor's burner phone. "This isn't over, Kuznetsov. Tell your wife to write a sequel." The threat hung, but we breathed. Anya's 7th birthday arrived, a sunny affair with balloons and cake in the yard. Victor and I danced under fairy lights, her laughter our anchor. We'd won again, but the cost was vigilance eternal. As she slept, we sat on the deck, his hand in mine. "We're free," he said. "As free as we can be." I nodded, kissing him. "Free enough. Our love, Born in a Russian call, thrived in defiance. A family forged. Forever ours. Summer's warmth lingered in Vancouver, the city pulsing with life as Anya's kite soared above a nearby park, her delighted squeals cutting through the chatter of joggers and vendors. Victor held the string, guiding her tiny hands, his laughter rare and unguarded. I watched from a picnic blanket, my heart full but my mind alert. Natasha's retreat had bought us time, but the underworld was a hydra. Cut one head, another grew. Alexei's latest report confirmed it. A new player, Mikhail Suvorov, was consolidating power in Miami, eyeing Vancouver's ports. He's ambitious, Alexei had said, his voice tight. And he knows your name, Sophia. Suvorov was different. Younger, tech-savvy, with a veneer of legitimacy as a crypto mogul. His real trade was information, brokering secrets to the highest bidder. My book's success, now in its third printing, had drawn his attention, the same paranoid misreading that plagued the Petrovich crew. They thought my analysis of Russian literature hid Bratva codes, a theory fueled by online forums and shadowy leaks. Victor scoffed at the idea, but his eyes betrayed worry. He's not just after routes, he said one night, poring over encrypted files. He wants influence. You're a symbol now. I hated being a symbol. I was a professor, a mother, a wife, not a pawn in their games. But Suvorov's moves were bold. Hacked cameras near our home, cryptic messages sent to my university email. One read, "Tell Kuznetsov to share or the professor pays." Victor doubled security, Sergei now a constant shadow, while Irina drilled Anya on safety protocols disguised as games. I pushed back, demanding a role. I'm not hiding, I told Victor. Teach me the tech. If Suvorov's digital, I'll fight him there. He hesitated, then agreed, setting up a secure system in our home. I learned fast, basic coding, encryption, tracking digital footprints. My psychology background helped me spot patterns in Suvorov's taunts. He's narcissistic, I told Victor. He'll want a spectacle. We decided to bait him at a charity gala in Vancouver, a high-profile event where I'd speak on literacy, drawing him out. Victor's team prepared, planting decoys and securing exits, while I memorized faces from Alexei's dossiers. The gala glittered, chandeliers casting light over gowns and tuxedos. I wore sapphire silk, the emerald pendant Victor gave me gleaming at my throat, a quiet reminder of his promise. He stayed close, his hand brushing mine, his eyes scanning the crowd. Suvorov appeared, sleek in a tailored suit, his smile too polished. He approached during a cocktail hour, voice smooth. Professor Novak, your book's fascinating. Care to discuss subtext? His eyes flicked to Victor, a challenge. I played along, keeping my tone light. Subtext is overrated, Mr. Suvorov. Sometimes a story's just a story. He laughed, but his gaze was predatory. We'll see. Later, in a quiet hallway, he cornered me, his charm gone. Please provide the ledger's backup. Otherwise, your daughter's school will receive a visit. My blood froze, but I held his stare. There's no backup. You're chasing ghosts. He smirked, stepping closer. Then why's Kuznetsov so protective? Before I could answer, Victor appeared, his presence a storm. Back off, Suvorov. Now. Guards materialized, but so did Suvorov's men, a standoff brewing. I slipped a tracker into his pocket during the tension, a trick learned from Victor's lessons. We left, the gala's glamour tainted. Back home, the tracker led Alexei to Suvorov's hotel, where laptops yielded enough to tip the Canadian authorities. By dawn, he was detained, his empire unraveling, but the victory felt hollow. Anya's school, her safety, had been threatened. Over breakfast, as she chattered about kites, I exchanged a look with Victor. We need out, I said later, alone. Not just stepping back, out. He nodded, weary. I've been planning it. A clean break. New Zealand, maybe? New identities. It'll take time, but we'll do it, for her. For us, the transition began quietly. Victor liquidated assets, funneling money into offshore accounts under aliases. I scaled back teaching to prepare colleagues for my sabbatical. Anya sensed the shift and asked why we had packed boxes. We're adventuring, I told her, forcing a smile. Irina helped, securing papers, while Alexei took complete control of the Bratva, his loyalty unwavering. Your family, he said. always. Winter arrived crisp and biting. We spent Christmas in a cabin in the Rockies, a trial run for our new life. Anya built a snowman, Victor's laughter echoing as he joined her. I watched, my heart torn between joy and the weight of leaving. Vancouver had shaped us, its dangers forging our love. Could we be us without it? That night by the fire, Victor pulled me close. Wherever we go, you're my home. I kissed him, tears falling. And you're mine. By spring we were ready. Passports, a house in Auckland, a new name, Elena Novak, professor and writer. Victor Novak, consultant. Anya would grow up free, her laughter unshadowed. As we boarded the plane, Vancouver shrinking below, I felt the past release its grip. Suvorov was gone, the Bratva a fading echo. Don't let her leave, Victor had once said. Now he held my hand, whispering, together, always. Our story, born in a Russian call, ended in flight, a new beginning, unbreakable. The Auckland air carried the tang of salt and eucalyptus, a new rhythm to our days as we settled into a seaside cottage, its whitewashed walls and expansive windows open to the Pacific. Anya, now 8, chased waves on the beach, her laughter a melody that drowned out the ghosts of our past. Victor taught her to fish, his patience endless as she tangled lines, his silver-streaked hair glinting in the sun. I watched from the porch, my laptop open to a new manuscript, my heart lighter but never entirely free of vigilance. 10 years since that Russian call, 10 years of battles won and love forged in fire. The move to New Zealand had been smooth, Victor's wealth paving the way for new identities, Elena and Victor Novak, parents to Anna, a family unremarkable to neighbors. I taught part-time at a local university, my book's now a trilogy, each a quiet defiance of the shadows we'd left. Victor ran a consultancy. His Bratva days were buried under layers of legitimate deals. Yet the past lingered in small ways, my habit of checking exits, his of scanning crowds. Alexei's calls, now rare, brought updates. The Karpovs were quiet, Natasha a rumor in Europe's underworld. But peace was tested. One spring evening, as Anya slept, a letter slipped under our door. No postmark, just my name in sharp script. Inside, a single line. Stories never end, Elena. My hands shook as I showed Victor. Natasha, he said, his voice low, the old steel returning. She'd found us, her obsession with my memoir, mistaken for a coded ledger, unrelenting. We fortified the cottage, cameras hidden in vines, while Alexei traced her to Sydney, a new base for her syndicate. The plan was surgical, a fake literary event in Auckland. Me as bait, Victor's team, flown in discreetly ready to intercept. I protested, fearing that Anya would choke me. She needs us, I said. Victor cupped my face, eyes fierce. She'll have us, forever. I nodded, resolve hardening. The event was intimate, a bookstore packed with readers, my talk on Tolstoy a cover. Natasha appeared, disguised but unmistakable, her ice-blue eyes locked on me. She approached post-lecture, voice smooth. Your stories haunt me, Elena. Care to share the truth? I smiled, heart racing. Truth's in the pages, Miss Karpova. Read closer. She leaned in, a whisper. I know who you are, Sophia. Before she could act, Victor's men moved, silent and swift, detaining her in a back room. I followed, needing answers. Why me? I demanded. She laughed, bitter. You're his heart. Break you, I break him. Victor stepped in, his presence a storm. You touch her, you die. The authorities, tipped off, took her away, her syndicate crumbling under Interpol's weight. Back home, Anya ran to us, her arms wide. Why were you gone so long? She asked, eyes searching. Just work, Malishka, Victor said, lifting her. I held them both, tears burning. That night, under a sky ablaze with stars, we sat on the beach, Anya asleep between us. Victor's hand found mine, his voice raw. I saw my life without you today, empty, broken. I can't lose you, Sophia. My throat tightened, memories flooding, gunfire, blood, that first call. You won't, I whispered, kissing him. You're my home, my always. Years passed, and Anya grew into a fierce teen, her green eyes holding our fire. We built a life, books, laughter, love, each day a victory over the shadows. Natasha's arrest ended the hunt, her name fading into obscurity. Victor and I grew older, his scars a map of our battles, my words a testament to our survival. "Don't let her leave," he'd said once, a command born of fear. Now, as we watched Anya chase her dreams, he whispered, "Don't let her go." I squeezed his hand, tears falling. Never. Our story, sparked by a Russian call, was no longer about running. It was about staying, loving,